On a violent winter night in 1965, a North Sea storm tore open the sandy dunes at Lundin Links on the coast of Fife, Scotland. When the wind finally died and the villagers walked down to inspect the damage, they found human bones spilling out of the beach. These skeletons had been buried in that sand for more than 1,400 years. They belonged to one of the most mysterious peoples in the history of the British Isles. They belonged to the Picts. And for 13 centuries, almost everything we believed about where they came from had been a lie. The Romans were the first to name them. In the year 297 AD, a Latin writer praised the Emperor Constantius for defending Britain against two fierce enemies, the Irish and the Picti, the painted ones. For 200 years, these tattooed warriors harassed the northern frontier of the Roman Empire. They were the reason Hadrian's Wall was built. They carved hundreds of stones across Scotland covered with strange symbols, double discs, crescents, beasts, mirrors, and combs. Those symbols no one has ever fully decoded. They destroyed a Northumbrian king's army in a single bloody afternoon. And then, almost as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished from the historical record. Their language died, their kingdoms were absorbed, their bloodlines were supposedly gone forever. But where did they come from in the first place? For that question, history gave us only one answer, written by a single Anglo-Saxon monk in a cold stone monastery in the year 731. His name was the Venerable Bede, and he wrote from Wearmouth Jarrow in Northumbria, just south of the land the Picts had conquered. In his ecclesiastical history of the English people, Bede told a strange and dramatic story. The Picts, he wrote, had sailed out of Scythia, a vast and barbaric land somewhere beyond the Black Sea. They came in a handful of warships, were blown off course, landed first in Ireland, and were then sent by the Irish to settle the empty northern reaches of Britain. They had no wives with them, so they married Gaelic women on one strict condition. Their royal line would pass through the mother, not the father. The daughter of a queen, not a king, would rule. For 1,300 years, Bede's story was the only origin the Picts had. It was repeated in the 9th century Historia Britonum, embellished in the Pictish Chronicle, and treated as historical fact by antiquarians well into the Victorian era. The Picts were Eastern exiles. Their kings inherited through their mothers. It was settled history. The problem is, not a single word of it could actually be tested, until scientists figured out how to read the genomes of dead people. In 2023, a team of geneticists and archaeologists, led by Dr. Adeline Moraes of Liverpool, John Moores University, and Dr. Linus Girdland Flink of the University of Aberdeen, published one of the most important papers in Scottish archaeology in 100 years. It appeared in the journal PLOS Genetics on April 27th. The team had done something nobody had ever managed before. They had extracted ancient DNA from 8 genuine Pictish skeletons, 7 from that wind-battered cemetery at Lundin Links, and 1 from a sewer trench burial at Ballantor, hundreds of miles to the north. 2 of those skeletons gave up enough genetic material to sequence a full genome. One was a man from Fife called LUN004. The other was a woman from the Highlands called BAL003. Both had been buried between the 5th and the 7th centuries in the heart of the Pictish kingdom. And when the researchers compared their genomes to every other ancient population on record, something extraordinary happened. There was no trace of Scythia, no trace of the Black Sea, no trace of any eastern migration at all. The Picts were Iron Age Britons. They had always been Iron Age Britons, and their ancestors had walked the same Scottish hills for at least 1,000 years before Bede ever picked up his quill. But the second finding was even more devastating. Remember that matrilineal royal line Bede swore his readers could still see in Pictish society? The researchers sequenced the mitochondrial DNA of all 7 Lundin Link skeletons. Mitochondrial DNA passes only from mother to child. If Bede was right, if Pictish women stayed in their villages and passed their lineage down, those 7 skeletons buried together in a single Pictish cemetery should have shared maternal lines. They did not. All 7 had completely different maternal ancestries. 2 individuals who were genetically related through their fathers did not even share a mother. The matrilineal myth was not wrong by a little. It was wrong in the opposite direction. The women buried at Lundin Links were not locals. They had come from somewhere else. They had married in. So if the Picts did not come from Scythia, and if Bede fabricated their female succession story, why did he do it? The most likely answer is that by Bede's time, they were a rival Christian kingdom to his own Northumbrian world, and attaching an exotic foreign origin to their people was a way of making them seem strange, marginal, and less legitimate than the Anglo-Saxons. Bede was not writing history, he was writing politics. And what I find incredible is that the real Pictish story is so much more remarkable than the one he invented. Because when the researchers search for modern populations that share the most DNA with the two Pictish genomes, they found them scattered across Western Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Northumbria. Millions of people alive today carry meaningful chunks of Pictish DNA. The painted warriors of Dun Nectain, the stone carvers of Aberlemno and Hilton of Cadboll, and the families of the Fife Coast did not vanish. They were absorbed. When Kenneth MacAlpin united the Picts with the Scots around the year 843, he did not exterminate a people. He merged them. Their language died. Their kingdoms were renamed. Their symbol stones were buried, broken, or repurposed as Christian cross slabs. But the people themselves kept living, kept marrying, kept having children. And those children had children, and those children, 1,400 years later, are walking the streets of Glasgow, Cardiff, Belfast, and Newcastle right now, many of them completely unaware that a piece of one of Britain's most mysterious lost civilizations is written into every one of their cells. The tragedy of the Picts isn't that they disappeared. The tragedy is that for 1,300 years, we believed a monk's tall tale instead of looking at the evidence buried under our own feet. DNA has finally given these people their real story back. If you want to see more videos where modern science dismantles the myths of ancient history, hit that subscribe button and let me know down in the comments. Do you think you might have Pictish ancestry? See you in the next video.